Life in Aruba. Beautiful women, $500 paradise and SX rules tourists love. They say you can live in Aruba for just $500 a month and fall in love before sunset. Sounds crazy, right? But here's the real shocker. It's not just the sunsets or beaches that make people stay. It's the freedom. It's the people. And yes, it's the wild rules tourists aren't just breaking, they're loving. In this small island with big surprises, everyday life feels like a holiday, and casual romance is just part of the scene. No rush, no judgment, just sun, smiles, and stories that would never happen back home. What's really going on here? Why are tourists canceling their return flights and building new lives in flip-flops? This isn't just another travel video. It's the one that'll make you question everything you thought about happiness, love, and how little you actually need to feel alive. Watch till the end, because Aruba doesn't just change your plans, it changes you. There comes a point in life when your alarm rings and you don't wake up. Not really. You stand up, you brush your teeth, you check your phone, but inside, it's like you're still asleep. That quiet, heavy feeling follows you, like your life's on repeat, playing the same old track. And somewhere in between morning traffic and answering emails, a tiny question shows up in your head. Is this really how it's supposed to feel? And then, boom, you hear about this place, Aruba, an island where people don't just smile for pictures, they smile because they actually feel good. Where your day doesn't start with a coffee-fueled panic attack, but with soft waves and sunlight slipping through wooden blinds. Where the cost of living is so low, it almost sounds like a scam. And yet, it's real. Here's what hits the hardest. People aren't running. They're not racing toward promotions, deadlines, or traffic signals. They walk, they stop, they breathe. And somehow, without all the stuff we chase, the big house, the luxury car, the corporate badge, they're genuinely happier. Let me break it to you straight. You can live in Aruba for less than $500 a month if you're smart about it. A cozy local apartment, around $300. Daily meals like grilled fish, rice, and fresh papaya juice, less than $4. Public transport, it's there. But many people just walk. They're not rushing anywhere anyway. Now let's talk about the thing no one prepares you for. The people. Especially the women. Yes, they're stunning. Sun-kissed skin, natural beauty, easy confidence. But what truly pulls you in is their energy. There's no fake small talk, no exhausting games, just warmth, strength, a calm that slows down your pulse without even trying. And in a place like this, connection happens differently. You're not swiping. You're not rehearsing clever one-liners. You're sharing mango slices with someone who laughs from the stomach and asks how your day really was. That kind of connection, it's rare. And when tourists feel it, they don't just extend their trip, they change their entire life plan. But wait, let's not romanticize everything. Aruba isn't Disneyland. It's real. Real culture, real people, real issues too. And that's exactly why it works. You don't come here to escape life. You come here to find the version of it that makes sense. The one where you're not being crushed by bills, meetings, and self-doubt. And that's what makes this more than a vacation. It's a wake-up call. Because back home, we measure life in achievements. Here, people measure it in time well spent, in peace, in presence. They not in wasting time watching the sunset. That is the point of their evening. You see couples holding hands, grandmothers selling fruit with laughter lines carved into their faces, kids playing barefoot without an iPad in sight. And suddenly, it all makes you wonder, what the hell are we doing back home? We build lives full of things and still feel empty. Aruba flips that. Strip away the excess and what's left is peace. And maybe, just maybe, that's all you ever wanted. So no, this video won't push you to book a flight or sell all your things. It's here to show you that there's another version of life. One where $500 doesn't just cover your costs. It buys you space, time, clarity, and maybe love. So stay with me. This isn't your typical travel video. This is a reminder that happiness doesn't cost a fortune. That slowing down isn't failure. That somewhere between routine and regret, there's an island that might just remind you who you really are. And the real question is, would you trade everything for peace? Because once you see what life in Aruba really looks like, you might not want to go back to ordinary ever again. Where is Aruba, and why is it different? So, where even is Aruba? It's a small island in the southern Caribbean Sea, just off the coast of Venezuela. But don't let the size fool you. This tiny place packs a punch. Aruba is part of the Kingdom of the Netherlands, which means it's Dutch on paper but Caribbean in its soul. Imagine palm trees and white beaches mixed with pastel-colored Dutch houses and street signs in 3 languages. That's Aruba. It's also one of the few islands in the Caribbean that lies outside the hurricane belt. That means sunshine almost all year round, without the constant worry of wild storms. The weather, warm and breezy, not too humid. Think flip-flops, tank tops, and golden tans. All day, every day. Now, here's where things get even more interesting. Aruba has this unique calm vibe that feels nothing like big touristy cities. It's safe, seriously safe. Locals walk around at night, kids ride bikes, people leave their doors open. That's something you don't see often, and it changes how you feel. You breathe easier, you stop looking over your shoulder, and the lifestyle. Laid back doesn't even begin to describe it. The pace is slower, but the people are vibrant. You'll hear reggae beats on the street, the smell of fresh seafood grilling, and see families sitting outside just talking. No rush, no pressure, no noise, just real moments. This Caribbean Dutch mix also adds a twist to daily life. You'll find Caribbean spice in the food, but Dutch cheese at the supermarket. Locals speak papiamento, a mix of Spanish, Portuguese, Dutch, English, and African words, and somehow it all flows. That blend of cultures creates something rare, a place that feels welcoming to everyone. So yes, Aruba is an island, but it's not just another beach destination. It's a place where different worlds collide, in the best way. A tiny spot on the map that feels like a whole different world. And once you land here, you'll start to feel it too. This isn't just a location. It's a mindset. Living on $500? Here's the real math. So, can you really live in Aruba on just $500 a month? It sounds like one of those wild claims people throw around on the internet, right? But let's break it down properly, because the truth is more fun than fiction. Let's start with the biggest cost: rent. Now, if you're dreaming of a beachfront villa with infinity pools and morning mimosa service, sorry to disappoint. That's not what $500 gets you. But if you're okay with something simple, cozy, and just a few minutes from the beach, you're in luck. A local-style apartment or studio outside the tourist zones can cost between $300 and $450. We're talking clean, safe, basic places, nothing fancy, but everything you need. Add in Wi-Fi and electricity, and your total rent-related costs might hit $500 if you were not being too careful with the AC. Now, let's talk groceries. If you shop like a local, you save like a local. Rice, beans, chicken, eggs, bananas, and that sweet Dutch cheese. All surprisingly affordable. There's a chain called Superfood that's pretty popular, but the real magic is in the smaller neighborhood stores and open-air markets. That's where you find deals that make your wallet smile. A bag of mangoes for $2? Yes, please. Local snacks for a few cents? Even better. But if you go full tourist mode and try to eat imported snacks or fancy cereals from the US, you'll blow through your budget faster than a beach breeze. One guy I met tried to buy his usual protein bars and almond milk. He laughed when the total was $48. Moral of the story: adjust your taste buds and your budget thanks you. Transportation here is another area where you can save. Aruba is small, like really small. You can drive across it in less than an hour. A used scooter is a popular pick for expats and travelers on a budget. Public buses are cheap and run fairly well, especially between the main towns and beaches. And if you're living near Oranjestad or San Nicolas, chances are you can just walk most places. Bonus: the views are amazing and the sunsets are free. Here's a quick breakdown of monthly costs for someone living modestly. Rent, $400 for a basic, decent, local-style studio. Utilities, Wi-Fi, electricity, water, $70 groceries, cooking at home, $150 transport, bus or scooter fuel, $30 of random fun, snacks, local SIM, flip-flop replacement, $50 or that totals around $700. But with a roommate or shared living, you really can get it closer to $500. Yes, it's tight, but it's possible. Now let's compare that to the US or UK. In most American cities, $500 wouldn't even cover a third of your rent. In London, that might get you a cupboard under the stairs. And don't even talk about groceries. One avocado toast in LA is almost $15. In Aruba, that money buys you breakfast for the week and a smile from the vendor. But let me be clear, you're not just saving money here. You're buying peace. You're buying slow mornings and warm nights. You're buying the sound of waves instead of traffic. That's what people miss in the spreadsheets. And of course, there are funny surprises too. Like the time I thought I bought a cheap local coffee, only to realize it was a tiny packet of instant powder with no sugar. I drank it anyway, sitting on the beach, because somehow even bitter coffee tastes sweeter in Aruba. Or the guy who tried to haggle with a coconut seller, only to be handed the coconut and told, "No discount, but extra smile." That's Aruba math. Pro tip: if you really want to stretch your money, learn a little papiamento. Even a few words. Locals appreciate it, and they're more likely to offer you better deals, or at least a laugh. And don't forget happy hour. Many places have deals where you can get a drink and snacks for under $5. That as your evening entertainment and dinner all in one. Just don't get too carried away, or your $500 plan might turn into a $900 reality real fast. So yes, the math can work, but what really matters is what the money gives you. Here, $500 buys more than rent and food. It buys freedom from the stress of keeping up. It buys slower mornings, friendlier people, and a kind of life that feels, well, like living. But be warned, once you taste this kind of simplicity, it's hard to go back. That's what gets people. Not the prices, the peace. And the question is, if you could trade all your bills back home for a hammock, a scooter, and $500 a month, would you? The women of Aruba. More than beautiful. Let us talk about something that often gets talked about for all the wrong reasons. The women of Aruba. Yes, they're beautiful. That's not up for debate. But to stop the story, there would be missing everything that actually makes them unforgettable. There's a deeper charm, a confidence, and a warmth that turns that first glance into something much more lasting. Aruba is one of those rare places where culture isn't just one thing. It's a blend, a mix of Dutch, Latin, African, and indigenous roots all living in one small island. That blend shows in the people, especially the women. It's not just about skin tone, features, or how they carry themselves. It's about their energy. These women grow up around a culture that teaches them to value both independence and community. It shows in how they speak, how they move, how they laugh, and even how they argue. Walk down a street in Oranjestad and you'll see women in all kinds of roles: running shops, teaching in schools, managing offices, cooking in food stalls, and still finding time to help an old neighbor carry her groceries. There's strength in how they live, a kind of unshaken pride. Not loud or dramatic, just calm, steady, and quietly powerful. And that might be the most attractive thing of all. One thing visitors often notice is how naturally confident many Aruban women are. They're not trying to fit into someone else's idea of beauty. They don't apologize for their curves, their hair, their voice, or their beliefs. They wear what they like. They smile when they want. They speak honestly. And that honesty is refreshing. It makes conversations feel real, not like small talk. That is why so many people who come here for a holiday romance end up having something more real than they ever expected. Let me tell you about James, a digital artist from Canada. He came to Aruba for what was supposed to be a 10-day getaway to clear his head after a rough breakup. On his third day, he met Sophia at a beach cafe. She wasn't a waitress. She wasn't trying to impress anyone. She was just sitting there, drinking coconut water and reading a book about Caribbean history. James struck up a conversation, mostly because he was bored. 3 hours later, they were still talking. What caught him off guard wasn't just her beauty, it was her ease. She didn't try to act interested in him just to be polite. She didn't laugh at every joke. She challenged him, asked him real questions, and talked about her life, her childhood in Santa Cruz, her dream to open a local museum, and how she volunteers to teach dance to kids on weekends. That trip turned into a life change. James now lives in Aruba full-time. They're not married, but they've built a home together. He says, "I came for the ocean, but I stayed for the soul I met in it." Another story? Let's talk about Alina and Thomas. Alina is a schoolteacher born and raised in Aruba. Thomas was a lawyer from the UK, tired of his 70-hour work weeks and cold winters. He came for a short volunteer teaching gig, just 1 month. Alina was his guide on his first day. He says she had this smile that didn't just light up a room. It made him forget he was in one. She was sharp, funny, and didn't care at all about his background or money. He loved that. Their bond wasn't just built on long beach walks or cocktails. It was built on Saturday grocery runs, family BBQs, fixing a leaky roof, and finding laughter in everyday chaos. They're married now, still living on the island. Thomas says, "People talk about paradise like it's a beach, but sometimes it's a person who reminds you what really matters." There's something to be said about women who grow up in a place where happiness doesn't come from luxury. Aruban women understand the balance between fun and responsibility. They're used to living life outdoors, with family always nearby and music in the air. That upbringing brings a kind of openness that's rare these days. They don't hide behind filters or fake personas. They are who they are, and they expect you to show up the same way. Now, don't mistake confidence for coldness. Aruban women are friendly, funny, and full of warmth, but they don't fall for sweet talk. They've seen enough tourists come and go to know the difference between a compliment and a line. If you want their attention, you better be genuine. And if you're lucky enough to get their trust, you'll realize that you found something rare. Many expats say the same thing. They came looking for a break from stress but found something far more meaningful. Some say it's love. Others say it's respect. But the common thread is that these women showed them a different way of seeing the world. A way that's slower, more grounded, and full of joy. And yes, dating here is different. Forget fancy apps or rules about waiting 3 days to text back. Relationships in Aruba grow from real conversations, shared food, music, helping each other's family, and dancing under the stars. Sometimes literally. There's less pressure, but more depth. To understand the women of Aruba, you have to understand their island. Just like the sea here, they're beautiful. But what pulls you in is how deep and calming they are. They can be wild in spirit, soft in emotion, and sharp in wit, all at the same time. And once you truly see that, you stop comparing. You just admire. So the next time someone tells you Aruba has beautiful women, you can say yes, but that's only the beginning. Their beauty is not in the eyes alone. It's in how they live, love, laugh, and hold their own in a world that's often too noisy for real connection. And maybe that's the real charm of this island. Not just the beaches or sunsets, but the kind of people who make you want to stop, sit, and stay. The SX rules. Tourists actually love. let's talk about one of the most searched, misunderstood, and whispered topics when it comes to Aruba: the so-called SX rules. Now, don't let the title fool you. This isn't about anything wild or illegal. It's about how open, confident, and honest the culture here is when it comes to love, attraction, and adult relationships. And that's something many tourists are shocked by, but end up really loving. Here's the truth: Aruba isn't a place full of secret parties or risky behavior, but it is a place where people are comfortable being themselves. Whether you're a local or a tourist, there's a vibe of freedom. People don't judge you for showing affection. They don't make big drama over who's dating who. It's just a relaxed way of life. And after coming from countries full of pressure, rules, or awkward silence around intimacy, that feels like a breath of fresh air. You'll hear this again and again from people visiting Aruba for the first time. Everyone here just seems so confident. That's not just about how people dress. It's how they move, speak, and treat others. Women walk with pride, men aren't scared to be playful or expressive, and both are clear about what they want. This confidence creates an environment where consent is respected, flirting is fun, and honesty is valued. And that's something more travelers should celebrate. Let's break one myth right away. This isn't a hookup island. Aruba isn't trying to be that. You don't see people being wild in public or clubs filled with risky scenes. What you do find is openness. People talk more freely about their feelings. If they like you, they'll say it. If they're not interested, they won't lead you on. This clarity might feel unfamiliar at first, but it actually makes relationships, short or long, feel more genuine. One thing tourists often notice is how friendly and natural local people are in social spots. Whether you're at a beach bar, a dance club, or even a food truck, locals don't treat tourists like strangers. They treat them like possible friends. There's no fear in starting a conversation. That openness often leads to connections that are real, sometimes just for a night, sometimes for a lifetime. You'll also notice that flirting here isn't seen as bad or rude. It's part of the culture to compliment, to dance, to smile. It's not creepy, it's charming. Of course, respect is everything. The rule here is clear. If someone says no, that means no. If someone says yes, that doesn't mean everything. Consent is loud and proud here. People are encouraged to speak clearly about what they're okay with and what they're not. This is one reason many solo travelers, especially women, feel safe here. They can enjoy a night out without being harassed. They can talk to someone without feeling cornered, and they can make decisions on their terms. That is a big deal in a world where many places still don't, and get that right. Now let's talk about relationships between tourists and locals. Some people assume that locals are just looking for fun, or tourists are only there for temporary flings. But the reality is much more layered. Locals aren't naive. They know tourists will leave, but that doesn't mean they don't form real bonds. Many Arubans have dated or even married tourists who first came for a vacation and ended up staying. So yes, love does happen here, and it's built on more than just sunsets. But to be honest, there's also a rule tourists learn quickly. Don't play games. Locals can tell when you're being fake. If you come here with the wrong energy, treating people like souvenirs or acting superior, you'll be gently ignored. Respect is the base of everything. If you're kind, honest, and open, you'll feel welcomed. If you're arrogant, you'll feel alone. Another interesting thing about Aruba is how much the community respects personal choice. Whether you're LGBTQ+, single, married, or somewhere in between, no one's pointing fingers. You'll find couples of all kinds walking together, dancing together, enjoying their lives. This isn't a place where people hide who they are, and that gives visitors the courage to be more open with themselves, too. Take Clara, a traveler from Spain. She said the island helped her reconnect with her own body and emotions. Back home, I always felt judged. How I dressed, how I danced, how I loved. But here, I felt free. No one cared about labels. They just cared if you were real. Or Daniel from the US. He came after a tough divorce. I thought I'd feel lonely, but instead I found laughter, deep talks, and people who didn't want to fix me. Just sit with me. I didn't fall in love with a person. I fell in love with feeling respected again. These stories aren't rare. They happen every week on this island. Not because Aruba is a fantasy land, but because its culture invites honesty. The so-called SX rules aren't really rules at all. They're just a way of living that values openness, safety, and connection. Yes, you'll find clubs where people dance freely. You'll hear music that makes you move. You'll feel bolder than usual under the tropical moon. But it's all held together by mutual respect. People here don't cross lines. They invite you to step into your own confidence at your own pace. And maybe that's why so many tourists end up smiling about these rules. Because they're not wild, they're wise. They teach you to talk, to listen, to feel, to ask, and to answer with truth. They take away the games and give you back your power. So next time someone says, "I heard Aruba has some strange dating culture," just smile. Because now you know the truth. It's not strange, it's strong. And once you experience it, you might wonder why the rest of the world doesn't live like this. Nightlife, passion, and the no judgment zone. When the sun goes down in Aruba, something special happens. The island doesn't sleep. It simply changes mood. Daytime is slow and peaceful, but nighttime brings energy, music, and a kind of passion that's warm, not wild. And the best part? You can enjoy it however you want, without anyone judging you. Aruba's nightlife isn't like big cities full of noise and packed crowds. It's more open, friendly, and full of connection. You'll find small bars with live music, beach hangouts with dancing, and cozy places where people gather just to talk and laugh. You don't need to dress up fancy or know the right people. Just show up with good vibes and you'll fit in instantly. Bachata, salsa, and reggaeton play softly or loudly depending on the spot. Locals often know how to dance and they're happy to teach. It's not about showing off. It's about feeling the music and having fun. And no, you don't have to be good at dancing. In Aruba, it's not about perfect moves, it's about moving at all. Even if you're awkward, people smile and cheer you on. That's the island spirit. One thing visitors always notice is how safe and comfortable the nightlife feels. Whether you're alone or with friends, you don't feel pressure. No one's trying to trap you in uncomfortable conversations. If you want to talk, people talk. If you want space, people respect it. It's this relaxed energy that allows real moments to happen, without forcing anything. Romance here feels natural, not rushed. You might meet someone at a beach bar, share a drink, laugh about something silly, and feel a spark. That spark doesn't have to mean a big story. It can just be a beautiful night with a beautiful connection. And if it grows into something more, even better. But no one is keeping score. No one's judging your choices. That's what makes the night feel free. Let's talk about a tourist named Sam. He came from Canada, tired of dating apps and fake small talk. One night he met a local woman at a food stand. They sat on the sand, shared snacks, and just talked about life. No pretending, no pressure. He said it was the most honest conversation he'd had in years. They didn't exchange numbers, just a hug and a thank you. That was enough, he told us. I remembered how real connection feels. Then there's Mia from Germany. She said Aruba helped her drop her fear of being judged. At home, going out felt like a competition. Who looks better? Who gets more attention? Here, it felt like I was seen for me, not my makeup or my clothes. She met a group of locals who welcomed her like family. They danced, shared stories, and even invited her to a birthday party the next day. No flirting, no pressure, just good people and good energy. What makes Aruba's social life unique is the balance. People love to laugh, flirt, and dance, but they also respect space, boundaries, and feelings. You can say yes or no, or maybe, and no one will push you. That no-judgment attitude changes everything. It lets you relax and enjoy the night for what it is, not what it's supposed to be. And yes, passion is part of it, but it's passion that's honest, not loud or fake. It shows up in the way people talk with their eyes, move with the music, and share quiet moments under the stars. Even a short talk at a beach bar can feel special when there's no fear of judgment. If you're someone who's tired of the dating games, of pretending, of wondering if you're saying the right thing, Aruba might surprise you. Here, people say what they mean. If they like you, they'll tell you. If they just want a dance or a drink, they'll make that clear too. And somehow that honesty feels more romantic than any smooth line. In the end, nightlife in Aruba isn't just about drinking or dancing. It's about connecting. With others, and maybe even with yourself. It's about letting go of expectations and just living in the moment. Whether it's a quiet laugh on the sand, a slow dance under string lights, or a spark that lights up and fades gently. You'll feel something real. And that's worth more than any club or party in the world. Food, drink, and $3,000 satisfaction. If there's one thing Aruba does really well, besides sunsets and smiles, it's food, and not the fancy, overpriced kind. We're talking real meals that fill your stomach and warm your heart, for just $3. Yes, you read that right. In Aruba, food isn't just about eating. It's about joy, community, and sometimes even falling in love with life again. Walk through any local neighborhood, and the smell will stop you in your tracks. You'll catch a mix of grilled meat, sweet plantains, garlic, and something you can't quite name, but suddenly want. Street food here is full of flavor and history. It's cooked by people who learned recipes from their grandmothers, not from cooking shows. And they cook with love, not timers. For around $3 to $5, you can get a full plate of happiness. One favorite is pan bati, a kind of cornbread that's soft inside and slightly crispy on the outside. Locals eat it with stews or barbecue chicken, and the flavor feels like a hug. Then there's pastici, a fried pastry filled with cheese, meat, or spicy chicken. It's perfect for breakfast, lunch, or any time you want a quick, tasty bite. Fresh tropical fruit is everywhere. Mangoes so sweet they taste like candy, juicy watermelon, papayas, and bananas straight from backyard trees. And the drinks? Coconut water served right from the shell, homemade fruit juices, and if you're in the mood, local beer that costs less than bottled water in some places. There's also something called soul food here. Not because it follows a recipe, but because it touches your soul. Dishes like fish stew with coconut milk or grilled snapper served with rice and beans might sound simple, but they carry stories. These meals are often made by aunties, uncles, and grandparents who don't cook for customers. They cook for people. Let me share one sweet story. A backpacker named Ravi came to Aruba after losing his job. He was tired, broke, and unsure what to do next. One evening, a woman running a small food cart saw him sitting alone and offered him a plate on the house. It was chicken curry, rice, and fried plantains. He said it was the best meal of his life, not just because of the taste, but because of the kindness. They didn't speak the same language, but they understood each other through that plate. He ended up helping her around the stall for the rest of the week. "Food saved me," he said, "not just from hunger, but from hopelessness." This is what food in Aruba is like. It's not fast food, it's real food, made slow and shared fast. People talk over their meals, laugh louder when they're eating, and somehow the world feels lighter after a good bite. You don't need a five-star restaurant. You need a street-side table, a cold drink, and someone to share it with, even if it's a stranger who becomes a friend. And for travelers, this is a big deal. When you realize you can eat well without spending much, you relax. You stop counting pennies and start counting flavors. A good meal for $3 isn't just about saving money, it's about gaining peace. You sit down, you eat, you smile. That's the rhythm of life here. So if you're wondering whether happiness can come on a plate, the answer in Aruba is yes. It can come with grilled chicken, plantains, and a little chili sauce on the side. And the best part? It only costs $3. Daily life in Aruba. Simple, safe, and sweet. Daily life in Aruba isn't about rush hours or long to-do lists. It's slow, calm, and peaceful, almost like the island itself is telling you to breathe. If you've ever lived in a big city where the morning starts with honking horns and ends with tired eyes, Aruba will feel like a different world. Here, the mornings begin with sunlight peeking through palm trees and the smell of fresh coffee floating through the air. People here don't rush. It's not laziness, it's balance. Locals often say, "No stress, it'll get done." And somehow, it always does. You wake up, open your window to the sound of birds instead of buses, and your biggest decision might be, do I walk to the bakery or take the bike? Errands in Aruba are simple. There's no big traffic to fight or endless waiting lines. Need groceries? Walk 5 minutes? Want to pay a bill? Most shops accept cash with a smile, and the staff actually say hello before asking what you need. The people here are friendly, not because they're trained to be, but because they want to be. There's a warmth in everyday interactions that makes you feel safe and seen. Speaking of safety, Aruba is one of the safest places in the Caribbean. Whether you're walking home at night or letting your kids play outside, there's a strong sense of trust in the neighborhoods. Communities are close-knit. Everyone kind of knows everyone, and even if they don't, they still look out for each other. That means less worry and more peace of mind. Even simple things feel special here. Going to the market isn't just about buying vegetables. It's a social thing. You chat with the vendor, maybe get a mango for free because you look tired, and leave with both food and a smile. Want fresh fish? There's a fisherman on the beach who'll sell it straight off his boat. It's not fancy, but it's real. And the best part, you don't need a schedule. Life has a rhythm here, but it's not built around deadlines. It's built around the sun. When it's hot, you rest. When it cools down, you walk. When you're hungry, you eat. It sounds simple because it is. And maybe that's what we all need. One visitor once said, "In Aruba, I stopped needing a clock." That doesn't mean people are careless. It means they've mastered something many of us forget: how to be present. You don't need to plan your next move every second. You just live it. Mental peace isn't something you find here after a month. You start feeling it in the first week. The slow pace, the friendly smiles, the gentle sea breeze, it all adds up. Your phone stays in your pocket more. Your thoughts slow down. That knot in your chest? It starts to loosen. People who move here often say they came for the weather but stayed for the calm. It's not perfect, but it's peaceful, and that's rare. If you're someone who's tired of always doing, Aruba teaches you how to just be. Sit on the porch. Sip something cold. Watch the sky change colors without needing to post about it. Life in Aruba isn't about what you can collect. It's about what you can let go of. Stress, noise, pressure, they don't have much power here. In return, you gain something better: simplicity, safety, and sweetness in the everyday moments. So, if you've been chasing a life that feels lighter, this is what it looks like. A place where your heart doesn't race when the phone rings. A place where kids ride bikes safely and neighbors wave from their doorways. A place where daily life doesn't drain you. It restores you. Shocks and struggles. What's not perfect now? Let's be real. Aruba may look like paradise, and in many ways it is, but no place is perfect. If you're expecting everything to work the same way it does in New York or London, you're in for a surprise. This island has its own pace, its own problems, and yes, a few little struggles that will test your patience before you fall in love with them. Let's start with something you might not expect: power outages. Yep, they happen. Not every day, but often enough that locals barely flinch when the lights go out for 10 or 20 minutes. Maybe it's a transformer, maybe it's just maintenance, or maybe it's the heat messing with the system. Whatever it is, people don't panic. Shops might shut for a bit, fans stop spinning, but no one's yelling. You'll probably hear a neighbor shout, "Ay Dios," and then they'll just sit outside in the breeze and wait, and don't even try rushing anything through the mail. Sending a letter or receiving a package? It's going to take time. Sometimes a long time, especially if it's coming from the US or Europe. And yes, you'll probably have to go pick it up yourself from the post office. Now, the post office is, let's just say, charmingly old school. Long lines, slow service, and staff who take their sweet time. But again, no one's yelling. That's the magic of Aruba. Even when things are slow or broken, there's a quiet patience in the air. The other thing that might shock you is the cost of imported goods. Aruba's an island, which means a lot of things, like electronics, some fruits, and random household items, have to be shipped in. And that shipping cost shows up in the price tag. Want that brand name shampoo you love from back home? It might be double the price here. A box of cereal could feel like a luxury item. Even basic furniture might be expensive unless you're lucky enough to catch a local sale. So, how do people deal with it? Most locals get smart about shopping. They buy local brands, stock up when there's a sale, and sometimes wait for friends visiting from abroad to bring them what they need. Expats learn to do the same. After a while, you stop missing the exact brand of peanut butter or the fancy soy candle. You find replacements or you just go without, and it's fine. It's not suffering, it's simplifying. Now, let's talk about island time. It's not just a phrase, it's a way of life. If someone says they'll meet you at 3, expect them by 3:30. If an electrician says he'll come Monday, he might show up Wednesday. It's not personal, it's not rude. It's just how time flows here. Appointments stretch, plans shift, nobody's in a rush, and if you try to fight it, you'll only frustrate yourself. Then there are the government offices. Want to get a work permit, residency paper, or even just renew a document? Bring your patience, maybe a snack, possibly a folding chair, because these offices don't move fast. There's paperwork, signatures, stamps, and sometimes people who simply say, "Come back tomorrow," without much explanation. But once again, no one's yelling. People take a number, wait quietly, and scroll their phones. That's just life here. But here's the beautiful part. All these little struggles, all the things that seem slow or frustrating, they don't steal your joy. Because the overall vibe in Aruba is calm. Even when things don't go as planned, there's a softness in how people handle it. Maybe it's the sunshine, maybe it's the ocean always nearby, or maybe it's just the culture. You don't hear people shouting at cashiers or arguing over delays. You hear laughter. You hear music from a nearby car. You see someone waiting and still smiling. One expat said it best. "In my first month, I was mad about the internet going out. By my third month, I used the break to take a walk and forgot I even needed Wi-Fi." So, yes, there are power cuts. The mail is slow, some things are expensive, and you'll probably get lost in paperwork once or twice. But what you get in return is mental peace, patience, and a whole new rhythm of living. If you're someone who loves control and speed, Aruba will challenge you. But if you're open to letting go a little, to trusting the flow, then even these imperfections become part of the charm. Is this place good for families? Aruba might seem like a romantic escape or a beach bum's dream, but it's actually a hidden gem for families too. You'd be surprised how many parents, especially digital nomads, end up staying here longer than planned, just because it is such a good place to raise kids in peace. Let's start with the big worry: safety. Aruba is one of the safest places in the Caribbean. It has low crime rates, and locals genuinely look out for each other. You can let your child play in the park or splash on the beach without constantly looking over your shoulder. People here greet each other warmly, and there's a real sense of community. In many areas, neighbors know each other by name. That feeling is something a lot of families miss in big cities, but in Aruba, it's part of everyday life. Now, what about schools? You have options. Aruba offers public and private schools, and many of the private ones teach in English, Dutch, or Spanish. Some even follow international curriculums. The class sizes are usually small, and there's a big focus on outdoor activities. Kids don't just sit behind desks, they also learn through nature, art, and culture. If you're planning to stay longer, it's worth checking out schools ahead of time. Many expat parents say their kids adapted fast and even picked up multiple languages just from playing with local children. Healthcare is another plus. Aruba has good quality medical services with a main hospital and plenty of clinics. Most doctors speak English, and the level of care is quite decent for a small island. There's no need to fly to another country for basic health issues, and in emergencies, the local system is responsive. Many digital nomad families get private insurance just to be safe, but they rarely need anything beyond standard checkups. And let's not forget what kids love the most: beaches. Aruba is full of family-friendly beaches where the water is calm, warm, and shallow. Eagle Beach, Baby Beach, and Arashi are all popular with families because there are shaded spots, food stands nearby, and soft sand perfect for little feet. You don't need expensive gear, just a towel and sunscreen, and you're good to go. For digital nomad parents, life here is manageable and even fun. Wi-Fi is decent in most places, co-working spots exist, and you can find babysitters or part-time help through local networks. There are also kids' clubs, summer camps, and family cafes where children are welcome and can play safely while parents work or relax. The pace of life helps too. No mad city rush, no long commutes. It gives parents the freedom to actually spend quality time with their children. So yes, Aruba isn't just for honeymooners and party travelers. It's calm, kind, and surprisingly family-friendly. Many parents who came here for just a season found themselves extending their stay for the safety, the sunshine, and the smile on their child's face at the end of a sandy, happy day. Can you actually move here? Let's say you've watched this far and you're thinking, okay, Aruba sounds amazing, but can I really move here? The short answer, yes. But like any move, there are things you need to know before packing your bags and booking that one-way flight. First up, the good news. Aruba offers a digital nomad visa. It's called the One Happy Workation program, and while it was launched for short-term stays, many remote workers have used it as a foot in the door. You can stay up to 90 days without needing a complicated permit if you're a U.S. citizen. Other nationalities can apply too, but it is always best to check current rules with Aruba's immigration website or a local lawyer. If you're planning something more permanent, you'll need to look into longer stay visas or even residency options. Now, here's the big question. Should you rent or buy? Honestly, most people start with renting, and that's a smart move. You can find apartments for around $500 to $800 if you stay outside the tourist zones. Want something close to the beach with more space? That can jump to $100-200 or more. But still, compared to big cities in the US, UK, or Canada, it's very reasonable. Many homes come fully furnished, and short-term leases are common, especially in local expat areas like Nord or Savaneta. If you fall in love with the island and decide to stay long-term, buying property is possible, even as a foreigner. The process isn't too complicated, and Aruba has no property tax for your first house under a certain value. That's a relief for many expats trying to stretch their savings. When it comes to language and culture, Aruba is one of the easiest Caribbean islands to adjust to. The official languages are Dutch and Papiamento, but almost everyone speaks English, especially in cities, shops, and services. You won't feel lost or out of place. Locals are used to tourists and digital nomads, and they're usually friendly, laid back, and helpful. Just don't be surprised by island time. Things move a little slower here. If your appointment is at 2, it might actually start at 2:20, and that's totally normal. It's not rudeness, it's just the island rhythm. Work-wise, most people moving here already have online jobs or remote businesses. Aruba isn't a hotspot for traditional 9-to-5 jobs unless you're in tourism, hospitality, or real estate. So if you're a content creator, freelancer, software developer, or run a remote team, you'll fit right in. The internet isn't lightning fast, but it's strong enough for video calls, uploading content, and regular remote work. There are co-working cafes and quiet spots with reliable Wi-Fi too. Something that helps a lot when moving is joining local Facebook groups or expat forums. You'll find advice on everything, from where to buy cheap groceries to how to find a trustworthy landlord. Many expats are happy to help because they were once in your shoes. They'll tell you which neighborhoods are safe, how to get your mail delivered, it's a bit tricky here, and where to find local events. Culturally, Aruba is a mix of Caribbean warmth and European structure. It's not too loud, not too quiet. There's freedom, but also a strong sense of respect and politeness. If you make an effort to learn a few words in Papiamento, like bon dia for good morning, it'll go a long way with the locals. They appreciate the effort, even if you mess it up a little. To wrap it up, yes, you can move to Aruba, but do it thoughtfully. Don't expect it to be just like your home country. Expect it to be slower, simpler, more peaceful, and at times unpredictable. But for many, those are the exact reasons they never look back. So if your laptop can come with you and your heart is open to a new way of living, Aruba might just be more than a vacation. It might be your next chapter. People who changed their life. Here, Aruba isn't just a place to visit. For many, it's a place to transform. Beyond the turquoise waters and sunny skies, the island offers a fresh start, a slower pace, and a chance to rediscover joy. Let us meet a few individuals who found more than just a vacation here. They found a new way of living. Sophie, the solo nurse. Sophie, a travel nurse from Canada, arrived in Aruba for a short assignment. Burned out from hospital shifts and city life, she was seeking a break. What she found was a community that embraced her. The local clinic where she worked was different. Patients greeted her with smiles, and colleagues shared stories over lunch. She started her mornings with beach walks and ended her days watching sunsets. The stress that once consumed her began to fade. Sophie extended her stay, not for work, but for the peace she found. She says, "Aruba taught me to breathe again." The couple from NYC, Mark and Elena, both corporate professionals from New York City, were caught in the hustle. Long hours, constant meetings, and little time for each other strained their relationship. A spontaneous trip to Aruba changed everything. They were captivated by the island's rhythm, slow mornings, friendly faces, and the absence of urgency. They decided to take a sabbatical, working remotely under Aruba's digital nomad program. Days were filled with shared breakfasts, midday swims, and evenings under the stars. Their bond strengthened, and they rediscovered the joy and simplicity. Elena reflects, "We found ourselves in the calm." The divorcee who found joy. After a difficult divorce, James felt lost. Seeking solace, he booked a trip to Aruba. The island's warmth, both in climate and community, offered comfort. He spent days exploring local markets, trying new foods, and engaging in conversations with strangers who soon became friends. The vibrant culture and laid-back lifestyle helped him heal. He began painting again, a hobby he'd abandoned years ago. James shares, "Aruba didn't just mend my heart, it reignited my passion." Before versus after. These stories highlight a common theme: transformation. Before Aruba, there was stress, disconnection, and a longing for change. After embracing the island's way of life, there's peace, connection, and renewed purpose. Aruba offers more than scenic beauty. It provides a space to pause, reflect, and realign. It's a reminder that sometimes stepping away from the familiar can lead to profound personal growth. If you're considering a change, perhaps Aruba is calling. It's not just a destination, it's a doorway to a new chapter. Should you stay forever? There's something about Aruba that makes people stop and think, what if I never leave? It's not just about the beaches or the warm breeze. It's the feeling, the calm, the simplicity, the quiet peace that slowly becomes louder than the noise you left behind. For many travelers, Aruba starts off as a short escape, but then it turns into a bigger question. Why go back to the stress, the rush, the endless to-do lists? Life here moves differently. People smile more. Strangers talk to each other. The sun rises gently, not with a siren, but with a soft glow that nudges you into the day. And for those who've been living in fast cities or tough routines, this change can feel like a shock and a blessing. Peace. In Aruba, peace isn't something you fight for. It's built into the air. It's in the slow walks, the calm streets, and the way people actually stop to say hello. There's less pressure to constantly be productive. Life here teaches you that being present is enough. You don't need to chase every goal. You can just breathe. But peace here also means being okay with what you have. Things take time. Deliveries are slow. Government offices don't rush. It's not always smooth, but no one yells. No one pushes. The whole culture seems to run on patience. And the funny thing is, once you adjust, you find that your blood pressure drops too. Purpose. You don't come to Aruba to get rich, but you might come here and realize you don't need to. The island makes you ask different questions, not how much am I earning, but am I living well? Many who stay long-term start small businesses, teach yoga, run cafes, or work online. Others find joy in helping the community, volunteering, or even starting something creative for the first time. People who once measured success in promotions and deadlines now feel proud when they grow their own herbs, walk to the market, or help a neighbor fix their fence. Aruba changes how you define a good life. Simplicity. Life here is light. You don't need 5 pairs of shoes. You don't need to keep up with trends. Most of the time, you're wearing sandals and eating fruit from a local stand. Evenings are about good company, maybe a cold drink, and listening to the waves. That kind of simplicity isn't for everyone. Some people miss malls and big city energy, and that's okay. Aruba doesn't try to compete with the rest of the world. It just offers an alternative. A life where less often feels like so much more. The honest truth. Of course, staying forever isn't a perfect fairy tale. There are limits. Some people struggle with the slower pace or miss family. Healthcare is good, but for major procedures, you may need to travel. The cost of imported goods can still surprise you. There are fewer job opportunities unless you're self-employed or remote. But for every challenge, there's also clarity. Living here makes you think deeply about what really matters. The chaos fades. You start noticing the stars more. You talk to people without checking your phone. You learn to be okay without needing to be busy. The return. Some people leave after a year or two. They go back to their countries, but they don't return the same. Aruba stays in them. They take slower mornings. They smile more. They care less about things that once seemed so urgent. And for others, those who decide to stay long-term, it becomes home in a quiet, solid way. Not flashy, not loud, just right. So should you stay forever? That depends on who you are, what you value, and how much peace you're really looking for. Because once you've lived here, even if you leave, something in you stays. And something in Aruba always calls you back. This isn't just about Aruba. This is about you. Somewhere between the waves, the slow mornings, the warm smiles from strangers, and the unexpected joy in doing nothing. Something shifts. Something whispers. You remember this, don't you? Not Aruba, maybe, but the version of you that laughed more, slept better, felt lighter, the one that didn't need to check the clock every 5 minutes or worry about inboxes overflowing. See, the truth is, most of us don't come to Aruba just for the weather. We come because we're tired of pressure, of noise, of that dull ache in your chest that whispers, "Is this really it?" And for a moment here, it feels like maybe it's not. You see a mom laughing with her kids at the beach, not taking photos, not scrolling her phone, just there. You hear music on a street corner. You eat food made with actual love. You meet someone who tells you you're glowing, not because you changed your skincare, but because you finally let go of what was breaking you inside. And suddenly, that $500 rent doesn't just sound cheap, it sounds like freedom. We're not saying Aruba is perfect. It isn't. There are potholes, power cuts, bureaucracy that moves like molasses, but nobody's screaming, nobody's in a rush to prove anything. And there's something oddly beautiful about that. So let me ask you something. When was the last time you woke up excited? When was the last time your shoulders weren't so tight with stress? When was the last time you felt alive? Because Aruba isn't asking you to move. It's asking you to remember. Remember how it feels to sit in silence without discomfort, to be around people who look you in the eye, to eat something delicious without guilt, to not count every dollar, but still feel rich. Somewhere along the way, we started thinking joy was only for weekends. That peace had to be earned. That freedom was a luxury. Aruba, it breaks all of that. Here, people live fully, even if they live simply. They don't need a 10-year plan to smile at the sunset. They don't need $1 million to feel like they're winning. And maybe, just maybe, neither do you. You've watched this far. That says something. Maybe it's curiosity. Maybe it's longing. Maybe it's that small voice inside saying, I want that life too. So this isn't a pitch. It's a mirror. Look at your calendar. Look at your routine. Look at the version of you that's been showing up every day. Is that who you want to be next year? Or even next week? Because Aruba is calling. Not with a plane ticket or a promise, but with a question. Is Aruba calling you, or reminding you of what you lost? Comment below. Not for the algorithm, but because someone else might need to hear your answer too. And maybe you needed to say it out loud.